Did you feel it too, a quiet shift, like the building taking a breath before the roof blows off? What if the tweak that changes everything isn't a flashy blockbuster, but the one chess move that opens the board and makes all the noisy problems suddenly make sense? And what if the clue has been hiding in plain sight? Pace you can trust in May, decisions that age well in June, and a front court brain that sees the floor like a point guard. Here's the promise. Stick with me, and we'll walk through the chessboard, piece by piece. Why last year's crunch time math forced our hand. Why the offense that sings when Steph has space was begging for a partner with a doctorate in angles. Why the defense that looked one rotation late needed a conductor, not a pogo stick. And why the window, yes, the window gets real right now if this is real. I'll break down the rotations, the matchups, the playbook tweaks, the cap puzzle, even the part nobody wants to talk about. What it means for the kids who earn the voice in this room. Before we start, you want clarity on what's coming tonight. You'll get what the move means for Draymond's minutes, for small ball that still punches above its weight, for the second unit that keeps breathing when Steph sits, and for the late game sets where one perfectly timed flare screen decides a series. You'll get the X's and O's, the politics, the psychology, and you'll get the truth. What's official, what's reported, and what's me reading the tea leaves like a fan who lives with this team in his bloodstream. Welcome to Warriors News Fan Report. If you love this team the way we do, tap subscribe, drop a like, ring the bell. It helps more Dub Nation diehards find this breakdown before the echo chamber does. All right, let's hoop. Let's rewind to the moments that actually decide seasons. Not the highlights, those are postcards. I'm talking about the 2-minute stretches when the offense clogs, when the second unit gives back the cushion, when a great defensive possession dies because one body wasn't where the geometry demanded. The Warriors still generate good looks, but the tax for those looks has climbed. More effort to pry open that first window, more precise timing to keep the chain moving, more risk that a long miss ignites a run the other way. In those moments, Golden State's identity gets tested. Care ball isn't just movement for movement's sake. It's a machine that trades isolation certainty for communal advantage. But you need a pivot who shares the steering wheel, somebody who can run a delay action at the top, disguise a DHO into a backdoor, hit the weak side corner before the nail help recovers, and then, on the other end, talk everyone through the screen-to-screener chaos without fouling the rhythm. That's the job description. It's rarer than we admit. The league has shifted too. Playoff basketball has become a war of middle pick and rolls, nail help, pre-rotations, and small margins. If your five can hold at the level, switch late, or sink just enough without conceding the corner three, you live. If your five can also punish drop with pick and pop, you smile. And if your five can stay on the floor in the final 4 minutes because he's a decision maker now, you're talking about a team that still matters in late spring. That's why the conversation all summer inside Dub Nation kept orbiting the same gravitational question. Who's the adult in the room at the 5 when the music gets loud? You can go vertical spacer. You can go young legs. You can go matchup roulette. But the playoff answer often ends up being the veteran who turns noise into order. There's a second layer, and it's human. This locker room does best when roles make sense. Steph doesn't need more shots. He needs cleaner ones and protection from unnecessary miles in December. Draymond doesn't need more responsibility. He needs someone who sees the same picture and shares the burden without drama. The young core needs guardrails that make their strengths pop and their mistakes survivable. Fans feel it when the ball pops and the spacing breathes. It travels through the building like electricity. So here we were, looking at a roster that added perimeter toughness and two-way competence, that solved a few problems on the wing, that finally settled a key contract saga, but still had one box unchecked, a playoff 5 who can be the hinge. Weeks go by, the rumor mill hums, the beat writers hint, and every practice video gets slowed down frame by frame by the internet's best detectives. The question never changed. Who is the hinge? And then the breadcrumbs piled up. A veteran big who knows everything there is to know about playoff geometry. A player who has earned respect in every room he's walked into. A profile that screams low usage, high impact, the kind that doesn't need to dominate touches to dominate outcomes. You know where this is going, and you know the name. Here's the reveal. Because you've earned it by staying locked in. Reports indicate that. Al Horford has committed to join the Golden State Warriors on a multi-year arrangement, with final details expected to move from handshake to letterhead in short order. That's not a highlight. That's an ecosystem shift. It's the kind of move that doesn't chase headlines. It chases rounds. Let's talk fit, because that's where this either becomes genius or a shrug. On offense, the first thing Horford buys you is time for Steph to exit a handoff without a second defender in his jersey. Time for a flare to mature. Time for the weak side to arrive on schedule instead of rushing a cut. Pick and pop at the top bends drop coverage. Nail help hesitates when the pop shooter is a grown man who punishes late contests. In delay, Horford can stand at the top, play point center, and spray to both corners like a quarterback who always finds his hot read. The Spain wrinkle with a back screen on Steph's defender? It gets nastier when the screener can screen, pause, and then bury a top-of-key three if the defense dares you to be patient. Now the defense. Horford's value isn't measured in chase-down clips. It's measured in the possessions that never become problems because the first read died quietly. He plays in paragraphs, not sentences. He can play at the level long enough for the chaser to recover. He can sink to the dotted line and deter without gifting the corner. And he can switch in a late clock and live with the result. You're not asking for 35 minutes of heroics in January. You're asking for 18 to 26 playoff minutes where the floor tilts your way. The Draymond partnership is a subplot I keep circling in bold. Offensively, it's a PhD seminar. Double handoff sequences where both bigs can flip the angle, go screen in the short roll, then ping the dunker spot when the low man stunts. Defensively, it's a talking clinic. Two front court quarterbacks pointing, tagging, directing traffic. Suddenly, the second unit doesn't have to be a survive and advance group. It can win minutes on purpose. That's been missing. What about the ripple effects? Let's be real, every rotation is a negotiation. This move doesn't exile youth. It frames it. Jonathan Kuminga's north-south force can live next to a spacing five who doesn't clog his runway. Brandon Podziemski's connective passing, especially in those quick drags and semi-transition, gets a larger target in the slot. Wings who are asked to be 3-and-D, without a consistent paint threat now cut with more purpose because the kickout remains a threat. Lineups. Envision. A closing five depending on the matchup. Steph. An off guard who guards up. Wiggins or another size wing, Draymond, and Horford. Against switch-heavy teams, you punish size mismatches with interior seals and high-lows. Against drop, you lean into pick and pop. Against zones, you put Horford at the nail and let him conduct, with Steph waterbugging around screens until the weak point gives. None of this is theoretical. It's NBA basketball reduced to simple choices and expert timing. Let's address the calendar. You don't need Horford to be 30 in November. You need him to be 39 in May, which is to say calm, ruthless, and bored by your first plan. That means targeted nights off, minutes that respect mileage, and a second unit designed to keep the offense coherent without begging for hero shots. It also means giving Draymond the freedom to spend. Bursts on playmaking and chaos. Instead of anchoring every single possession. Like a human duct tape roll, there's a culture. Component people underestimate with this franchise. Golden State's best versions, 2015, 2017, 2022 had veterans who absorbed panic. Andrew Bogut was a vocabulary for defense. David West turned elbows into sermons. Otto Porter Jr. was connective tissue that said we're fine when the pace got choppy. Horford fits that lineage. The adult who makes your strengths louder and your flaws rarer. Now, the uncomfortable question. What does this mean for the center minutes we were distributing elsewhere? Honest answer, it compresses them. But compressing minutes with a purpose is how you win. It's not a demotion. It's a map. There will be nights the matchup demands length and bounce. There will be nights the opponent's second unit dies because they can't solve two smart bigs toggling between drop and switch without changing the five. Playbook tweaks you'll recognize by Thanksgiving. More horns with Horford and Dre as the elbows. Split action on one side, flare on the other. Then a late ghost in the pick and pop when the help miscommunicates. More. Delay 5 inches where Horford dribbles into a DHO with Steph, then immediately flips the screen to prey on the defender's footwork. And that classic weak side hammer corner relocation time to Draymond's eyes get spicy when the ball starts in Horford's hands and the defense never identifies which big is the initiator. Defense. Again, because that's where banners are printed. With Horford, the second side help gets cleaner because the first decision at the point of attack slows the ball long enough to tag in sequence. The closeouts get shorter. The fouls get smarter. You won't shout his name on the highlight. You'll exhale after every possession and look up at the scoreboard, wondering why the run never arrived. There's also the series within the series factor. Against a team that lives on corner threes, you want a 5 who can stunt and recover like it's his first job. Against a heliocentric guard, you want a 5 who can play cat and mouse 2 steps higher without turning his hips and surrendering the runway. Horford has seen every coverage, failed at some, adjusted, and then punished the next version you tried. That matters in film rooms where the real battles happen. Let's zoom out to the narrative. Steph's career deserves finishing chapters that are about precision. Not nostalgia, precision. He doesn't need 40 usage nights in February. He needs to show up in April with legs under him and an offense that manufactures clean looks without borrowing tomorrow's energy. A veteran 5 who is a decisions machine is how you save that energy in microdoses across 82. So there's something left when it counts dot if you're wondering about egos. The beauty here is that Horford never needed the ball to control the game. There's no shot diet to protect, no my touches quota to massage. If anything, his presence reduces the emotional tax on everyone else. It lets Wiggins be a finisher again, not a rescuer. It lets the young guards hunt the next read instead of the hero read. It lets Draymond live in the symphony instead of conducting every note dot. What about the money, the years, the flexibility? This front office has been threading needles. Keep the core, feed the youth, chase value veterans, and maintain room to pivot. A multi-year commitment signals trust in the idea that smart minutes age better than loud minutes. If the number is right, the contract is an asset on the court and on the spreadsheet because it defines a role the team can count on. We should also talk about the West because context is king. Look around. Size on the wings. Star duos that span middle pick and roll. Benches designed to keep their best lineups out of foul trouble. A 5 who can stretch your defense without being hunted, who can stretch their defense without hijacking your shot profile, is the antidote. He won't erase every mismatch, but he reduces the number of times you have to play roulette. There's a leadership echo we haven't addressed. This locker room has been loud, then quiet, then searching for the exact tone that keeps the young voices growing without, drowning out the execution Steph and Dre demand. Horford's vibe is earned calm. He'll say little, then fix the thing that was broken. Sometimes that's a box out. Sometimes that's a word on the flight. Sometimes that's just standing in the right spot so someone else is free to do something special. Could it go sideways? Absolutely. Age is undefeated and miles don't disappear. But if you're betting on skills that travel with time shooting, screening angles, rotations, passing reads, this profile ages well. The risk on the injury line is real. The upside is that you don't need 82 games to get the value. You need availability in the 16 wins that define legacies. Let's go to a possession that doesn't exist yet, but you'll recognize when it happens. 2 minutes left. Game 5. tie game. Steph brings it up. Draymond sets a flat screen, slips. The defense bumps, pre-rotates. Ball swings to Horford at the top. He pump fakes, defender stunts, corner drifts. One bounce, DHO back to Steph, rescreen, pocket pass to Draymond, dunker spot finish, or Horford keeps and shoots if the weak side never commits. That's not a star makes a shot possession. That's a smart makes you wrong possession. That's how series turn. The second unit picture brightens too. Imagine the early second quarter. Steph sits. And instead of the offense becoming a hunt for one mismatch, you anchor and delay through Horford, sprinkle and pistol with a guard who can finish at the rim, and let the wing slashers live off cuts. That buys you 6 minutes of sanity. 6 minutes become 12 across a game. Over a series, that's oxygen. For the kids, the blueprint clarifies. The message isn't wait your turn. It's here's the platform. Cut hard, sprint into screens, trust that the ball will find you because the front court is a hub, not a black hole. Defend with discipline, and you'll stay on the floor next to grown-ups who make your good louder and your bad survivable. That's how young talent graduates from promise to playoff peace. This is also about emotional weather. There were nights last season when one 8-0 run felt like the end of the world. A veteran hub shortens those storms. You can see it in the way the bench stands on a made extra pass 3 instead of a heat check. You can even feel it in timeouts the room exhales when the structure holds dot. And to the question you're all asking, what does this mean in the biggest series against the tallest problems? It means you have one more credible look in the bag. You're not stuck playing the same song and hoping the volume changes the result. You can go small with brains at both big spots. You can go medium with enough length to keep rebounding neutral and spacing dangerous. You can survive a game where your shooting is mortal because your decision-making isn't. All right, community check. Am I over the moon? I'm measured and energized because this isn't a dream of yesterday. It's a plan for tomorrow. It respects what Steph does best, respects how Draymond's mind wins games, and respects that winning now requires chess, not just track meet chaos. It also respects the work the young core put in by giving them a blueprint that doesn't ask them to be something they aren't yet. Now it's your turn. Dub Nation, if this is the move, does it change your expectations for April and May? Do you see the fit the way I do? Who do you want flanking Steph and Dre in the closing 5 on opening night of the playoffs if Horford is in the fold? Drop your lineup choices and your rotation tweaks below. This fanbase always sees angles before the discourse catches up, and I want to read your versions. My take. Plain and simple. If the reported commitment becomes official, this is smart basketball. Not loud, not cute, smart. It speaks the language that wins when legs are heavy and scouting reports are thick. And yes, this is still a developing story. Until the team prints it, consider it informed speculation, not a signed, sealed, delivered fact. As a fan who thinks in June, I'm in favor because the game slows down in the playoffs, and so should your decisions. This move does exactly that.